The food pyramid was brought into being not least by the US Department of Agriculture. That is, by marketers, not scientists or nutritionists. Chew on that, peasants.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about nutrition and a video that Jordan Peterson had made. If you recall, right around 2016, there was a boom in videos of Jordan Peterson and other kind of alternative thinking, potentially right-leaning people that would put out videos, or there'd be compilations of them destroying certain things. So this video today is called Jordan Peterson Destroys the Food Pyramid. Now look, this title is cringy, it's dated, but it works. It gets the clicks. And I definitely try and utilize titling like I did in this video to get people to click it. That's not what this is about. The video that this is based off of is one that Jordan Peterson posted called "Wicked Globalists Are Causing Starvation and Poverty Under the Guise of Environmentalism." Now, I want to preface this video by saying that I don't want to get into some political discussion. In fact, if you are interested in a political discussion, go ahead and comment below. Let's get an argument going. That's totally fine. What I am concerned with is nutrition and the frustrations that I have felt personally, and then things that I'm frustrated about with clients, with people that I've coached, with people that I've worked with to help their health and fitness. So let's get into this video.
In such circumstances, in the face of such mandatory privations and manipulations, it's obvious that the last thing our tyrannical, idiot, panicked, virtue-signaling governments should be doing is directing their demented attention toward regulating what people serve at their tables.
So this is sort of the thing that I guess has deterred me from Jordan Peterson lately. It's not really the overarching thing that people tend to lead with against Jordan Peterson, is that he causes people to believe certain things and he's dangerous and things like that. No, what really he started to do is use a lot more vitriol geared towards specific like government. And I feel as though the things that influenced me the most by him really were not directly pointed at certain government and certain things. It's kind of hard to explain, but I feel as though if you're pointing out issues in society, to me, it's much more important to allow the viewer to kind of add in whatever vitriol they want, not put it in yourself. I try really hard not to do these things. I realize that I do it on my channel, but I try not to. And I feel like where Jordan Peterson has lately fell off, guys like Andrew Huberman have come into their own for myself. And that can be very different for other people. Andrew Huberman seems to be very careful in what he says. However, he stays true to what he believes is the best solution to things that are problematic that people might not want to hear. And when Jordan Peterson is bringing them to the table now, which are issues with the food pyramid, which we'll get into, and then also the way that we view nutrition in this country, those are issues that need to be brought forward. Do they need to be brought with vitriol like this? I'm not so sure. Personally, I don't really like it. But anyways, let's keep on going.
But because meat has also been deemed yet something else that is destroying the planet, the woke narcissists of compassion are already insisting that people eat less of it.
So yeah, the woke narcissists of compassion. It's more of that vitriol language. But let's talk about the meat aspect. We have to be careful of the pendulum swing here, and this happens a ton in nutrition. And I don't think enough people talk about this, but like trends come in and the pendulum swings towards carnivore, or trends come in and the pendulum swings till veganism, and what we have to do is actively prevent that pendulum from swinging, hitting it and stopping the momentum, trying to find something in the middle. I do believe for a long time, animal products and animal fats were demonized. They were said to give you high cholesterol, all of these things. And what people were seeing that was like, okay, less meat is fine, but I can continually have just like really calorie dense, shitty carbohydrates and fill my palate with things that don't matter as much, things that are less negatively affecting my health. Now what we're seeing is guys like the Liver King, Saladino, and a lot of guys advocating for eating a lot more meat products, but almost to an extreme degree. Let's continue on.
Plants and bugs for you and your children, peasants. And the sooner you get accustomed to it, or else, the better. Let's turn our attention to the claim that animal husbandry and the meat it produces cheaply enough for everyone to afford is unsustainable. For a moment, because we haven't yet dispensed with enough moralizing and authoritarian stupidity. Remember what happened the last time that government agencies applied their tender mercy to determining what the people they serve should consume? We were offered the much vaunted food pyramid, telling us to eat 6 to 11 servings of grains and carbohydrates a day, with protein and fat at the pinnacle, something to be indulged in with comparative rarity, if indeed necessary at all.
Okay, so this is what I want to get into, the food pyramid. I have an image here, the old food pyramid and the revised food pyramid on the right. So we have the old one on the left and the revised one on the right. So what he's saying is true. This is what I grew up with. This was the knowledge that I grew up with. The majority of your diet should be grains. It should be bread, things of that nature. I think there's a potato down there. Yeah. So just carbohydrates, starches, which it seems absurd, and it is absurd. Next would be vegetables. After that would be dairy, and then protein, which seems just outrageous, not only for the general public, but for people who want to change the way their body looks and they want to be more healthy and more fit. From my perspective, it is incredibly difficult to reach my protein macro. It's been argued in many different studies that somebody who is genuinely looking to put on muscle, they should aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is right around 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. For someone like myself, 245 pounds, I need to be supplementing with whey protein in order to get 245 grams. That's something that I've just found. It's like the only way that I can do that. Outside of that, each meal that I purchase, that I am not making myself, there is a very small likelihood, unless I go out of my way to add more meat, pay for more meat, there's a very small likelihood that I will get the protein necessary to meet that macro. This is so frustrating. If I go to Chipotle, for instance, I have to always ask for double meat. And when they give double meat, it just kind of seems like a normal amount of meat on the plate. Now that's different though, right? Because they're trying to focus on their margins. Obviously, the meat products are the most expensive to procure. They want to give away the least amount for that particular thing. You'll see this in a lot of the fast food industry. The most expensive products are the high meat products, and the cheapest products are the ones like soda or some sort of, or French fries or things of that nature. And this idea of like a Western diet stems from this old food pyramid. Now, if we look at the new revised food pyramid, it's not even that much better because protein is still in the exact same place. Even if you were to look at the dairy that they have out there, yogurt, milk, it's still not going to provide the necessary protein, at least of more importance than the animal protein listed above. It's so weird to me that everywhere in fitness, they talk about protein and they talk about trying to get your macros correct, and it completely conflates with this. This is what's being taught. And not only is this what's being taught, this is what's being provided consistently.
That all turned out to be wrong. And not just a little wrong, but so wrong that it might as well have been not just wrong, but a veritable anti-truth, something as wrong as it could possibly get. The food pyramid was brought into being not least by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, that is, by marketers, not scientists or nutritionists, with no shortage whatsoever of lobby efforts by those whose products ended up being promoted.
So we know that there are government subsidies towards grains. Basically, they're creating supply and demand by just upping the supply and then creating the demand through things like the food pyramid. It's as simple as that. Even if nutritionists were vouching for this, what came before the nutritionists vouching for this was that they were told that they had to. The U.S. Department of Agriculture and marketers and things like that are determining the food pyramid. And then the nutritionists are buying the textbooks that have these predetermined importances on things that nutritionally don't make any sense whatsoever.
The dietary recommendation to prioritize carbohydrates produced a veritable epidemic of obesity and diabetes, resulting in what has been deemed by reliable researchers as one of the worst public health disasters of all time, dooming almost the entire Western population to a lifetime of catastrophic chronic health problems.
To say that it's just carbohydrates that are causing these things, it's somewhat true. I believe it's somewhat true, but it becomes almost like a very deep conspiratorial type of feeling towards this epidemic of obesity. I think proportions, I think education, and, fats also are a big part of this. Hormones and the way that people react to certain fats and certain oils that are manufactured, those are things that come into the equation as well. If we look at nutrition as a whole, there's much ado about nothing, right? We have so many different channels continually arguing back and forth these little minute points when the base thing that we come down to is calories in versus calories out, okay? And then everything in between that is how can we create something that allows us to have a caloric deficit, or if we want a surplus, if we want to gain muscle, if we want to put on weight. There's certain things, but we just look at the law of thermodynamics and we look at calories in versus calories out. Now, if what's being educated and what's being subsidized are carbohydrates, then yes, it is more than likely the cause of this massive amounts of obesity in this country. So I'm not arguing against that. But it does become a dangerous thing to think that meat only and meat can come in and save the day. I don't believe that that's necessarily true. I think there's a lot of other things that need to come in to save the day.
42% of Americans are obese. Another almost equally large percentage are overweight. At least a third are in the early or later stages of diabetes, which is an exceptionally serious disease. $1.7 trillion is spent annually on chronic illness in the US. And the rise in such illness and cost is directly associated with the beginning of the godforsaken top-down dietary guidelines that set us all on a carbohydrate-heavy dietary pathway. There have been, in addition, dozens of studies debunking the claim that red meat causes disease. The PURE study, P-U-R-E, published in the journal Lancet in 2017, analyzing 140,000 individuals from 18 countries, revealed that, quote, higher carbohydrate intake, not meat and fat, note, was associated with an increased risk of total mortality, and that, quote, higher saturated fat intake was associated with lower risk of stroke. Lower. That is exactly the opposite of what we have been told.
Yeah, so that is entirely true. It's the complete opposite of what we've been told. And that sucks. That sucks a lot to hear. And what is the worst about this is people who aren't vigilant, like you and I, like consistently on this channel, I have to point out that we are in a bubble. People's algorithms do not look like yours. So the fact that you're getting my video right now means that you are somewhat vigilant about health, nutrition, fitness, what have you, around wanting to better your physical self. I have friends and family who are outside of this bubble, and they have zero understanding of how important protein is. And the only reason it's important is because they don't get it. They don't get enough of it. There's a place here in Austin called Sweet Green, And what it is essentially, it's just basically a lot of vegetables with protein on it. But this lot of vegetables is every part of it. It's very low calorie. It's filling because it's a lot of vegetables, but the amount of protein in it is so minuscule. It's ridiculous. We make the cost of protein just so incredibly high, not just actually with monetary, but the cost of going out and getting it and trying to procure it. It becomes a big deal. It is difficult. I'm telling you from experience, it is very, very difficult to get 200 grams of protein in a day for myself, 200 to 245. Now, maybe it's not necessary to get that much, but I would say for the average American, it's difficult to get 100 grams. That is how stark the difference is between what might be necessary and what might not be. And again, I am giving just a little bit of pushback here to Jordan Peterson, but we're basically speaking the same language. I just want to make it known that this isn't some sort of anti-woke kind of political channel or idea that I'm expressing. I'm expressing my own personal frustrations and the frustrations of many other people around nutrition in this. It just so happens that a big name is talking about it in potentially a way that I wouldn't talk about myself, but for the most part, we agree.
By the beneficial centralizing agents who task themselves with determining what we, as sovereign and responsible individuals, should put in our mouths. So the health benefits of a pure vegetarian and vegan diet are dubious at best. But what of the argument that animal husbandry is killing the planet? Well, the American Environmental Protection Agency estimates that all farming produces only 11% of greenhouse gases in the US. Transportation produces 27%. Livestock accounts for 3%. And plant-based agriculture? 5%. According to the National Academy of Sciences, if we eradicated all animal-based agriculture, we'd reduce greenhouse gases by a mere 2.6%. And it is no simple matter, by the way, and perhaps impossible, to manage a diet that is sustainable in the medium to long term by merely dining on plants. Chew on that.
Okay, that last part about the effect of environmentalism and the cheeky little chew on that thing, I don't really want to get into. Again, that's not really what this video is about. I hope that I'm able to display, my frustrations like I continually say, and I hope that you can display them as well in the comment section, because there are things that can be changed and should be changed. I don't know exactly what that is, but I can tell you right now, to procure the amount of protein necessary in my diet, to make this diet not Western, which is a negative thing, has become an incredibly difficult task. It's why it's such a big deal to be into fitness. Like, to be in this fitness lifestyle, you have to make these big meal preps with these meals that are seemingly so different from the ones that get served to us in restaurants. What does that say about the actual shit that we're being served in restaurants? Why is it such a weird thing to put the proper amount of protein in a meal? This is something that just has always irked me, and I feel like now, given that Jordan Peterson is talking about it, well, here's a great opportunity to talk about it as well. I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Comment, like, do all that cool stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.
Peasants.